Hi everyone, Eve here, and I'm so happy to be here with you to talk about food obsession today. So this is a great topic and I'm so glad to talk about it because I don't want you to have to struggle the way I struggled with food obsession. And so grab your pen and paper because I'm gonna go through 5 steps to help you overcome your food obsession. So I'm gonna jump right in. So grab your pen, grab your paper, and if you haven't done so, I invite you to subscribe. And if you've subscribed already, thanks for being here. So let's jump in. I took some notes because I didn't want to leave anything out because I feel that this is a very important topic. One of my subscribers reached out and sent me an email because she wanted to hear more about how to address the food obsession. And so before I go into this, I want to talk a little bit about what food obsession is. For those of you who struggle, you already probably know, you don't need to hear this, but I just want to share this anyway for people who might not know that they may be struggling with food obsession. So food obsession is when you think about food a lot, especially when you're not eating, when you're thinking about what you're going to eat, when you're fantasizing about what you might have, if you're afraid of what you're gonna eat or you're afraid of how food is gonna go, or if you've already eaten and you're feeling guilty for what you ate or mad at yourself, or even if you're feeling ultra proud because you're able to restrict or avoid, those are some tips that you might be struggling with food obsession, especially if it's impacting your life and that you're avoiding places or people because you don't want to deal with the food that's going to be there. So that's what food obsession is. And let's talk about 5 steps to help you address this. So step number 1 is to clarify what is causing your food obsession. Now I know what you're thinking, Eve, if I knew what caused my food obsession, I wouldn't be here. And I totally understand that. So it turns out for myself and for many people who struggle with food obsession, it basically falls into 3 categories. I struggled with all 3 of these things. So you may struggle with all of these things, maybe just 1 or 2 of them. So step number 1, what is causing your food obsession? Is it that you're restricting, that you're counting calories, that you're measuring, that you're portioning out, even if you let yourself eat whatever you want? Are you rigid about the amounts that you're allowed to eat? Or do you let yourself have unlimited amounts of foods that you might not necessarily like, or foods that are too light? Are you eating too clean or following too many rules? Or are you not doing any of these things, but just thinking that you should be on a diet? Turns out just thinking about going on a diet is enough to elicit this food obsession. Because when you have this food obsession, when you take food away, it's normal or natural to have a food obsession, to think about what you are not giving yourself. After all, you need food to live. So if you're taking that away, or if you're just thinking that you're going to take food away, that is enough to cause food obsession. The second thing that might be feeding into your food obsession is not addressing a need of your own, not addressing something that you need, or not nurturing yourself. So not giving yourself enough downtime for rest, for example. That's something that could have happened to me. Is I used to push myself really hard and not give myself rest or break, or even if I did give myself a rest or a break, I'd feel really guilty. For other people, it may mean that they're not giving themselves novelty or enough variety in their lives. So is there any nurturing that you're not giving yourself? The third thing that could be causing your food obsession is using food as a distraction of some kind. Turns out food is a wonderful distraction. It uses all of your senses. It's delightful, it's delicious. So if you're afraid to feel something, to see something, or know something, could you be using food to distract yourself? So step number 1 is to clarify which one of these things might you be doing, or if you're doing more than one of these things, take a moment to write down for yourself, what is it that you're doing that might be feeding into your food obsession? Are you restricting food, not giving yourself enough nurturing, or are you perhaps using food to distract yourself from something that you're feeling, something that you may not want to see, or something that you may not want to know? Step number 2 is, what is keeping you stuck in this pattern? What is it that you're believing? What is it that you're doing that's keeping you stuck? This is a great thing to write out on a list, on paper, so you could see for yourself what it is you're doing that's keeping you stuck. So for me, it was very helpful to see how this diet pattern was keeping me stuck, because as long as I was dieting and restricting, I was feeling deprived. And when I was feeling deprived, I would start thinking about food incessantly, constantly. And so I'd finally accidentally overeat or binge or, accidentally have the thing I didn't want. And then I'd be so mad at myself that I felt like I needed to punish myself, so I'd restrict again, causing the cycle all over again, causing the obsession again. So, the reason what was keeping me stuck was I was feeling that I should be on a diet, that I should be restricting. I felt like that was the right thing to do. How about you? In the times of my life when I've pushed myself really hard, I felt like not giving myself breaks, not taking a time out, not enjoying time with friends and family. I felt like I was being productive. I felt, again, like I was doing the right thing. So what is keeping you stuck in these patterns? If you're afraid to see something, if you're afraid to realize something, are you afraid to see things for what they are, because then you might have to make a big decision? Maybe that's what's part of keeping you stuck. So it's really wise to take a moment to clarify for yourself is what is keeping you stuck in this pattern. The third step is to determine the impact, the cost of doing this. Because if it's not costing you anything, I could see why doing what you're doing, go ahead, do it indefinitely. But chances are, if you're here, if you're watching this, if you've been following me for some time, you want to overcome this food obsession, and it's totally possible if you put in the work. And so here is the work right here and right now. And I want you to clarify for yourself, what is the cost? What is the impact of staying on that diet, or not giving yourself a break, or not feeling your feelings? Take a moment to get clear on that. So for me, I was always drained. I was never feeling satisfied with food. I was never feeling satisfied in life, because I never gave myself what I needed with food or in life otherwise, So how about you? I was afraid to feel my feelings because I was afraid they would take me over, but I was stuck because I wasn't seeing things for what they were. How about you? Take a moment to clarify, what is the cost of thinking this way, believing this way, and acting this way? Now, the fourth step, this is where it gets fun. This is why I asked you to get out your pen and paper, is I want you to take some time to think about some loving and safe and legal ways you could get your needs met. You got that right. I want you to start brainstorming safe, loving, and legal ways, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt anybody else, that you could finally get your needs met. So if you've been restricting carbs, what are some safe ways that you could include carbohydrates in your next meal? If you haven't been giving yourself any time, any downtime during this whole quarantine thing, what can you do in the next week to help you get that downtime? If you are afraid to feel your feelings, or, really see what's happening in your life, do you have somebody that you could talk to? Do you have a pen and paper, or do you have a journal where you could write things out? So take a moment and list a couple of things that you feel you could do this week and the next few days to help you address what's going on, to give yourself what you need with food and life otherwise, to help you finally overcome this food obsession. And what I want you to do is I want you to pick one or two of these things that seem easy, doable, safe, legal, and loving, that you could do. And then the final step is, obviously to do this thing that you feel is worthwhile for you to do right now, and to assess, how did it impact you? How did it affect your mood? How did it affect your food? I noticed when I started feeding myself more, the food obsession started to become less and less. It didn't happen overnight, but I knew as I fed myself enough food, the food obsession started to become eliminated. And that was so exciting. Also, as I learned to give myself breaks, as I learned how to incorporate relationships and doing fun things in my life as well, also helped take the pressure off of food being my everything, as I learned how to feel my feelings. It takes a lot of courage to do that. As I learned to see things for what they are, I noticed that not only did the food obsession get lifted when I did these things, I was happier. I felt more aligned with my purpose. I felt more energized in my life. So how about you? So I'm curious to know if you're up for the challenge. If you are, let me know what you're gonna experiment with this week. And if you do it, if you follow through, let us know how it goes. There's a community of people, a small group of us here that are doing what we can to overcome food obsession, and now you're a part of it. Thank you so much for watching this video. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.